All right, guys, here it goes. Moment of truth. Foot on the brake. Push the start button. Let's see what happens. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the channel. I'm James, and this is my non-running 2006 Bentley Continental Flying Spur that I picked up at the salvage auction. Now, in a previous video on this Bentley, we talked about some of the damaged parts and some of the repairs that needed to be made. One of those damaged parts was the cracked oil pan, which was keeping us from testing out this engine. So today we're going to make a repair to the oil pan to see if we can actually get this engine to run. But before we get to that, if you're not subscribed, then consider clicking the subscribe button so you can follow along with everything that goes on here on the channel. So without further ado, let's get started. So we have the Bentley in a better spot for us to work on it, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to address that oil pan. But to do that, we're going to need to get this thing up off of the ground. So we got a couple jacks and some wooden blocks, and hopefully we can gain enough clearance to where we can get to that oil pan. With a little bit more clearance, now we can get underneath and take a look at the oil pan. And if you see this divot right here where my finger's at, that's where our crack is. Right in the middle of that, there's about an inch and a quarter crack, which let all the oil come out of the oil pan. So to fix that crack right there, temporarily, I'm going to put in some JB Weld. We're going to seal that crack up so we can get some oil into this engine so we can test it out. And if the engine tests out fine, then we'll pull the oil pan. We'll either repair it, but more than likely we'll just go ahead and replace it. This is what we're going to use to fix our crack temporarily. This is JB Weld Quick Set. It sets up, I think, in about 30 minutes, 2-part epoxy, and this should seal our crack up really good. The crack is epoxied up, as you can see, and we're going to need to wait 4 to 6 hours for this epoxy to cure, and that's per the instructions. And after that, we can come back and we can add the oil. Well, as usual, the weather has not been cooperating the past couple of days, but finally we have a nice, dry, clear day, and our epoxy on the bottom of our oil pan has set, and it's now time to add in our very expensive oil. If you look right here, you can see we have 15 quarts of Mobil 1 0W40. This is what the factory calls for. This is the correct oil. And we're going to need to put 13 quarts into the engine. Now that we have the correct amount of oil in the engine, and we've taken a quick look underneath the car to make sure it's not all dumping out onto the ground, we can move along to the back of the car. And as you can see here, I've reinstalled the start battery. So that means only one thing left to do, and that's to hit the start button and see what happens. All right, guys, here it goes. Moment of truth. Foot on the brake. Push the start button. Let's see what happens. Nothing. Let's try it again. Well, it's trying to start. Oh, it's real weak, but it's turning over maybe a couple times, not much. Here we go. There she goes. And she is purring right along. And here come the warning messages. To be expected. It looks like we got a traction control, we've got our suspension fault, we've got a tire fault, and I'm sure that's probably because it's kind of cold outside today. But I am just super stoked that this thing runs. It actually runs pretty good. Listen to that thing purr. You guys don't even understand how happy I am to hear this thing running, and it runs very well. So now we can rest assured that this thing is running fine, and we can concentrate on starting to order some of the parts and sourcing some of the parts. Now some of the stuff we're probably going to have to wait on for quite a while, like that front bumper cover. I'm thinking I'm going to have to source one from England, and that might take a while. But I am super happy. I'm super happy that this car runs. Now for the time being, I'll stick with our patch job on the oil pan because it is holding up, and I don't plan on driving this car because we really can't drive it right now because we have the suspension issues in the front. Now, I have hooked up the laptop and I've tried to air up the front, and the front end will not take air. There's plenty of air pressure in the system. It's just not taking air for some reason. And I'm not sure if one of the struts are blown or if both of them are blown. But that will be the next issue that we deal with along with ordering the parts. We're going to need to address that suspension. Now, once we address the suspension and we get it up off of the ground, we can move on and we can take this thing for a test drive. So it's been a few days since we started up the Bentley and we had it running, and that has gave us plenty of time to get a few parts in that we need so we can continue on with this project. Now here is the main component that we need for the engine. This is the lower oil pan, and as you know, we have a split in ours right in here, and you can see I've already cleaned this thing up and it is in really good shape. It's pretty much ready to go on. Had to get this thing all the way from across the pond in England, and this cost me about $300. That is a little bit of a savings from the $500 at the Bentley dealership, but this is one of the only ones that I could find. I couldn't find one anywhere in the States. Here we have a left front air strut, and I believe this is going to fix our suspension problems. I've done a little bit of testing, and it seems like our left front strut is blown out. So this is the solution that I've came up with. I cross-referenced some of the numbers, and this is actually from a Volkswagen Phaeton. These cars share a lot of the parts. And if you look back here, you can see we got some brackets for the grill. I just went ahead and grabbed those while I could find them used versus buying them at the dealer. Now that we've had a chance to test this engine and order some parts, we can make some more permanent repairs, which is exactly what we'll do in the next video. So until then, I'd like to say thank you for watching. Be sure you check out all my videos on all my other projects, and if you're not subscribed, then consider clicking the subscribe button, click the bell so you'll get the notifications, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram.